Hello everyone, PJ Crypto here. We talk cryptocurrency on our way to financial freedom. Quick disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor and nothing we say on this channel is financial advice. So please everyone, do your own research when it comes to investing in cryptocurrency. At the 2022 Metaverse Expo, I was really intrigued by a few speakers that I wanted to bring to this channel that I was able to capture some content while there at the expo. And those speakers that I want to bring to you today, keeping safe in Web 3. It was done by the folks over at DrivenEcosystem, Cody Krantz, who is the Chief Creative Officer, and also Scott Crowley, who is the Chairman of the Board. I hope you enjoyed these videos. They were a delight to watch at the expo. So without further ado, let's roll the videos.
The space was full of so much danger for just the average investor that there was no way large corporations were going to bring in any significant amounts of money with any danger to lose that money at all. So we quickly decided that we were going to pivot and work on a security service because we figured that's what's really needed here. And so over the last year, we've been developing our suite of developer tools. Like you mentioned, we have a migration tool. And so we went through a migration ourselves very early on when we realized that there was an issue with our contract, and we realized, oh my gosh, we had a small user base, and we saw how difficult it was to do it manually, how expensive it was to airdrop all these new tokens to your holders. So we developed an automated process to make this so much easier. And so that's what we did this last year. We helped TCG with the migration. We helped them with their code debugging on their new contract. And that's kind of what DrivenEcosystem, that was the start of our security service. If I can, I'll step back for a second. I just want to introduce our kind of roles because I'm a content creator by trade. I'm not a technical coder. But when I started getting interested in investing in cryptocurrency beyond Bitcoin last year, I quickly realized that this was something that I was very interested in. I wanted to be on the ground floor of something. And when I work with small businesses for my content creation business, I try to identify the issues that that business has, how they can relay those messages to their potential clients. And so I quickly realized, like, if I could find a team that I could join, I could help them accomplish those same type of goals. And through doing this, we've developed a lot of things like our YouTube channel with tutorials, because education is so important in this space. Even, I consider myself a tech person, but the first time that I created a trust wallet and tried to get funds into that wallet, and then I tried to use PancakeSwap for the first time, I just imagined my mom trying to do this, and I go, there's no way that barrier is going to stop so many people. So if we really want mass adoption, we have to make this easier. And to make it easier, it has to be safer as well. And so that's how I became a part of this team. I'll give it over to Scott. He can introduce himself a little bit.
Yeah. My mic on?
Yeah.
Okay, so Scott Crowley. So I've been in tech since I was 15 years old. Basically, knew that was kind of the only way that I was going to kind of make it anywhere in this world was, with technology. And, never really, again, on the development side myself, more on operations and tech, infrastructure and things of that nature. And so I come at it from kind of more of a different perspective, I think, than a lot of the other people on our team too that are more code-based. And same thing as Cody is, I'm a very technical person, done a lot of things for years in this space, but getting into PancakeSwap and getting into the altcoins and the crap coins and all that area, you get overwhelmed quickly. With all the different options out there, with all the different things that you have to do to set up. And then on top of that, you have to keep yourself safe. You have to do research and find projects, that are actually viable projects. And we realized really quickly that this isn't something that the average person should even have to worry about. We want to make it so the average person can go out there and actually easily find projects that are safe, by having a stamp of approval. And that's how Driven Security kind of came about. And what we do with our audits and Driven Security is unlike some of the competition's audits where they're very high technical level audits, and unless you know how to understand the code or what they're saying, all you see is pass or fail. On our side, what we do is we explain things in more of a human language that most people can understand. And at that point, I think we also decided that we needed something more than just code audits, because everybody's just doing code audits. And so we started doing fundamental audits, actually auditing the teams, auditing the project, auditing their website. Is this a fly-by-night sort of operation? And going at it from that direction. And I think that's really where we really started hitting our stride.
Well, what really happened is, I'm sure all of you know, as the last year we had this incredible increase in users in the crypto world. And when that happens, there's a lot of new people in the space who are, maybe a little ignorant to exactly the dangers that are around. And so there's so many people who are predatory. They see this opportunity and they take it, right? Because they think that nobody's going to be able to. There's no accountability. There's no. Nothing will happen to them if they just take somebody's money. And so inevitably what happened is we ended up getting scammed. I'm sure every one of you out there has been either phished or scammed in some form this year. And, we're a very empathetic team, and we feel like if you lose $5 or $50,000, that's wrong. It still feels the same in your gut when you're like getting your car broken into, right? So that was why we decided to pivot and focus on security in the space. And like Scott said with our audits, we've worked with some of the other auditing firms on our own project, and we were kind of left with a bad taste in our mouth because I don't want to name names, but for a certain price, certain things were offered to be swept under the rug. And if you don't have integrity, I don't really know what your stamp of approval means. So when we first got our first audit from a secondary company, and we presented it to our community, what we found is that the community didn't understand what they were being presented with. And most of them were just going, okay, well, now I'm just trusting that this company says you're safe, now you're safe, I trust you. But a code is really just the first thing that you need to look at when you're vetting a project. There's so much more. Like, if you listen to anybody give investment advice, they say, do your own research, right? Well, what does that mean? So the first thing that I did being a visual problem solver is I took do your own research, and I made a video for our YouTube channel called How to Spot a Rug Pull. And I listed out a bunch of things that anybody can do. If you take about 20 or 30 minutes, you can vet any project using tools like BSC scan, checking out their website, reverse image searching their logo, making sure that they're not just stealing intellectual property. Because the fact is, if somebody is really serious about their project, they'll actually take the time to make sure that their project is completely legit. It's obviously a little more dangerous to just invest into a project who just comes out of nowhere, right? There's the website's launched on the same day, the Telegram's launched on the same day, and I'm not saying that right there, right away makes you a scam, but that does, that is a red flag, right? Also, other things like, are the developers public? Because the fact is that if you're not a doxed developer, it's much easier for you to do something where you could run away with your investors' funds. I mean, that's just a fact. And I understand why some people don't want to be doxed, but for us on our team, that was a big thing since day one, is that we wanted people to see our faces when we were talking, because anybody can host a Twitter space and you can talk to a bunch of people on Twitter, but half of communication is visual. And if you're not giving that visual, it's much easier for people to try and get one over on you. So a big part of what we believe in is that you have to be very public and transparent with your investors. And if you're not, that's not a great sign for us. And so that's part of our service too. We offer KYC services. One other thing, this past year when we first started doing auditing, we worked with a certain company and they passed our code audit and our fundamental audit. But very quickly after that happened, the developer sold and then backed out of the project. This is a project that had an LLC, and they had real products. I won't say what I don't want to give it away because I just don't want to talk about them, but they had real products. They were throwing get-togethers, they were doxed, all these things that you wouldn't think that they would scam anybody, but they backed out and nobody knew why. So what we ended up doing was we developed a service that we call wallet forensics. And so we'll go on Polyscan, Etherscan, all the scans, and we look at the top 30 to 50 wallets all the way back to day one on the deployer wallet. The developers can dox their wallets to us or not. You can still discern what's going on by looking at those day one transactions. And we make sure that the developers are doing the things that they say they're doing, and they're not, telling you to pump their project up while they're selling out from underneath you. And that's been happening a lot over this last year. So that makes our audit service a lot more comprehensive. It's not just about the code. Because the fact is, a lot of these other companies are taking the code and they're running it through algorithm, and that's how they're checking things. We'll do that as well, but we do it on a personal level. We need to talk to you. We have criteria. We won't audit just any company. You have to be around for at least 2 weeks. Most projects pull liquidity or rug pull within like the first day or so. So you have to get past that little mark. Another thing that we do is we check out Telegram groups. How responsive are your developers? Are they there to answer questions? If one thing that I really despise in the tech world in general is that there's no customer service. If you work on Coinbase or something and you have an issue, try and call them. You're not getting through to anybody, right? So having a real person there is super important. And our team is multinational. Our developers are in Europe. And so there's actually always somebody in our Telegram group to answer a question 24 hours a day, not just about our project, but if you're having an issue trading another token, we'll look into that for you. And many people ask us why would you waste your time, looking into other projects when they're not even paying for an audit or anything like that. And the fact is that crypto is a social thing, right? So a lot of us are on Discord groups and Telegram groups, and we've been talking to these people for a year, over a year. We developed relationships with them. We add them on Facebook, on Instagram. They become our online friends. And so what you want to do with your online friends is you want to talk about the projects that you're excited about. So what was inevitably happening is these people in our community would be talking about other projects, and then when somebody gets scammed, a whole bunch of our investors got scammed at the same time. So anytime that somebody comes in and asks us, can you check this out? We check it out so that we can nip that in the bud really quickly. And so we're really proud of our auditing service. We think that it takes it a step further. But I do want to stress the fact that simply passing an audit doesn't make a project, there's still risk there. There's always going to be risk there. And so what I really want you guys all to take away from this is when you're looking at a project, the goal of the project is great, the code is great, but the team is the number one thing. Because at the end of the day, they control what's going on with the project. They control, they have developer wallets. You have to discern if they're trustworthy, because it's very, pulling the liquidity is only one way to rug pull. There's many ways to scam people out of their money, and it's just been so prevalent over the last year. All our goals here, all these projects, we want mass adoption, right? Everybody wants to bring more people into cryptocurrency. And the fact is, as long as there's so many phishing scams going on and people are losing money in their wallets, it's going to be a really hard road ahead. Because, this is something that really grinds my gears, is the only time that we really get any recognition in the mainstream media is when something negative happens. Right, so nobody's talking about anything that has to do with crypto that's positive. It's only when Celsius goes under that they're talking about crypto and the negative, right? Or it's just always the negative. You never see the revolutionary stuff that's going on being talked about on CNN or Fox News or anything. They always take the chance that they can to stomp on crypto, stomp on NFTs. NFTs are a big meme right now, but I think that's where the education comes in, because PFPs are like the day one of NFTs. But like the guys up here were talking about before, the future of NFTs is massive. It'll be used for things like the DMV. It'll be used for things like medical records. We're already seeing car companies use NFTs as to track your car's service record. So when you think about NFTs right now, a lot of people do think of things like the apes, where it's kind of just a flex, where you want to have you want to buy something expensive and say like, oh, I bought this, now it's my profile picture. You see people like Justin Bieber, just spending money on it. Who knows if they're really into the technology behind it? So one of my personal goals within the team is to educate people, and that's where our YouTube channel comes in. We have a lot of content on there, and things like I mentioned before, how to spot a rug pull, which will teach you how to do part of our fundamental auditing by yourself. And it takes about 20 to 30 minutes, and you should really do that before you invest in any company. I also have stuff on there about the truth about YouTube influencers, because over the last year, we've seen YouTube influencers become multimillionaires by siphoning money out of the cryptocurrency space because they apparently have millions of followers. But you can use tools like Social Blade to check these people out and make sure that they actually have a following. It's really common for us on Telegram to get like 100 messages a week from promoters saying, I have 3 million followers here, I have 3 million followers here. But when you go to their page, they average about 2,000 views a video, right? And they're putting out content on a different project every day. So, it's very important to audit the people that you're listening to, whatever channel that's on, just as much as you audit a team who's presenting you with the project. The fact is that there's a lot of, and right now with the market the way it is, we're seeing that YouTubers put out much less content. And the reason for that is development teams don't have $10,000 to $100,000 to pay these guys to say this is the next 100x gem. So I think that's really important. And so one of my videos is the truth about YouTube influencers. One of the things we don't do on our channel is take money for promotion. We have a podcast called the Hash It Out Podcast where I like to talk to people who have projects that I think, in order to be on our podcast, you have to go through our audit. And so we don't want to shed light on anything that could be detrimental to any investors. But we like to sit down and talk to people, talk to the developers, and get to know them. Because like I said, the people are what's important. The people are what are going to drive the innovation in the project. The people are what's going to drive the longevity in the project. You want to make sure that the people you're investing in aren't going to get tired of doing this in a couple months and then just abandon the project. When the times get rough, are these guys going to keep going? That's what's really important. And so that brings me to our NFT project that we just released. It's called the CyberNights. And there is a PFP associated with it. There's some really cool art that's made by a female artist. It's a 10,000 piece collection on the Polygon network. We just recently partnered with Polygon Studios, and that's part of the reason we chose to go on the Polygon network with our NFT project. And now there was a lot of talk up here earlier about utility within NFTs. Airdrop, dusting attacks. And so this is when we sat down and said, we want to do something revolutionary with NFTs beyond just the PFP phase. And so what we figured out, our CEO, who's actually our lead developer as well, came up with the idea that we could create an NFT that if you hold it in your wallet, it would turn your Trust Wallet, your MetaMask effectively into a two-factor or multi-sig authorization. So you could be getting, like he was mentioning with the airdrops, and you could, what's happening with those dusting attacks is people are airdropping tokens, you go to trade them, and then they get access to your account through a series of smart contracts or, it's different ways. But if you hold the CyberNight NFT in your wallet, no transactions can happen without your signature and your authorization. So we have two services called Driven Protect and Driven Vault. Now, let's say you get a message on Instagram from your friends and someone that you're close to, and they say, hey, check out this link to this funny YouTube video. And you click it and something weird happens, but then you look and your wallet is empty later, right? Maybe you're using your Trust Wallet on your phone and Instagram on your phone. Well, with the CyberNight NFT in your wallet, when somebody has access to your wallet and they try to move your funds, it automatically locks those funds and moves it into a Driven Vault. And at that point, you have to, we would talk to you, we would contact you, make sure it's you, and help you set up a new wallet and effectively saving your assets within that wallet. So it's a revolutionary thing that we put together. This is the first phase of it, and it's meant to protect your significant holdings. Especially now when people are very scared to have any significant holdings on exchanges with what's going on, obviously, with Voyager and Celsius. If you have, we priced them at 60 Matic. I want to say that. Matic's at about, I haven't checked today, but it was like around 50 cents. So they're about $30, right? So the barrier to entry is very low. We're aware people have 10 wallets most of the time, right? So we want you to be able to have one of these CyberNights for each of your wallets to protect your assets no matter how much is in that wallet. But we think that this is the first phase of it, but we see much more that we can do with this. We are planning on our next phase with the next collection. It won't have a PFP associated with it, but they'll be meant to protect things like medical records and DMV records and things like that. Helping. Think about this. Think about like a hospital setting up their medical records on NFTs. What are they going to do? Have 10 million ledgers? It's just not scalable. So this is a scalable solution to keep things like your NFTs and your crypto assets safe. You have anything to add on that? And so the last thing I want to talk about is the DrivenEcosystem. We're a DApp first company. So our developer, our team ranges from 19 years old to about 40 years old, and so we have a wide perspective on the market. The younger guys on our team are brilliant guys, and they're on the cutting edge of what's going on in this cryptocurrency world. And like I mentioned, I'm not a coding developer, I'm a content creator. But I've learned a lot from these guys who are very young, they're very helpful, and they help me put together the informational videos that, because I want everybody to be able to invest in crypto. If we want mass adoption, it has to get down to the point where it's like using your credit card when you go anywhere and you just tap it on something. If we don't get to that point, it'll never be mass adopted. We have 2% of the world invested in crypto right now, so we have potential for so many people. The market can explode overnight. Maybe right now we're going to trade sideways in this time, but there's underlying things that are going on in the world. It's not just crypto, that's down. So, so our dApps right now our dApps are available for the Binance Smart Chain. But we do have plans to port them over to every EVM blockchain. So you'll be able to use things like our migration tool. We have a service called DrivenLock where developers can lock their development wallets, which is common. But we offer state vesting periods. So if you are a developer and you want to garner trust within your community, say I have 1 or 2%, it's going to be locked for 1 year. After 1 year, half of that will be unlocked. And then you can set those periods of when it'll unlock, which is a little kind of like traditional finance do with the options and things like that. We want to bring that in. We just think that made sense. We also have.
Well, the investing thing is really huge also, because what we find is in a lot of teams is you get paid initially in that crypto. So like when you join a team, a dev team, a lot of times somebody who maybe they've never met in person, they basically gets paid in crypto, and that usually in that native token. And so what was happening on a handful of projects that we were investing in is, a new developer would come into the team, they'd get this huge wallet that has, whatever, like using 1% or something of the total supply, and then all of a sudden the guy would get, angry at the, rest of the team members and he'd just dump the whole thing. And so not just like locking liquidity and stuff, it's locking up these things and having that investment period. So now, maybe you set it where it's a investment schedule of, every 6 months somebody's getting, like 1% or 10% of that, initial that they got. And so it makes it so they can't dump and basically crash out the project. Because we saw that happen on at least 4 or 5 projects. And basically all the dApps that we came up with, it was because of challenges we faced personally as a dev team too. And so when we came up with the ideas for these things, like especially Driven Migrate, for instance, which is what TCG used to migrate from V1 to V2, we basically made that out of necessity for ourselves, because once we did our first migration, we realized, we have to do another migration. We didn't want to have to do it manually again. And so we created this tool for ourselves to use. Then we realized, wait, there's all these other projects out there that are migrating left and right. Like they need something like this. And not only is it easier, but it's also much, much cheaper too. Like the migration process is very expensive for tokens. And so, and as they talked about earlier, is a lot of times when tokens migrate, it just kills the momentum that they have. And it can kill the project, and a lot of projects never bounce back from a migration.
There's also a very negative connotation associated with the migration. People think, you're migrating, you messed up. But the fact is, the space is changing so much every day. New vulnerabilities are being identified. And if you're a responsible developer, when you see a vulnerability, you have to take action right away. Right. Because who knows how long it's going to be before somebody realizes that there's a vulnerability and you're putting your investors' money at risk, right? So as a developer, you have to think about your liquidity and your market cap is not your money, it's your investors' money that they're relying on you to build what you're saying that you're doing with. So it's your responsibility to do everything you can to make those investments as safe as possible.
Well, we don't have much time left. Do you want to
take
some questions or anything?
Yes, I want to make sure. One other thing I did want to mention is that the CyberNights we are a partner with TCG, and so if you've seen the TCG altcoin alley. The CyberNights will be like the guardians of the altcoin alley, and we'll be auditing their projects that want to join the altcoin alley. So we're really appreciative of the partnership that we have with TCG. We love this whole expo and the chance to be here and talk with so many great developers. Like the guys up here mentioned before, a lot of times you just talk with these people on Telegram and Discord, and you develop a relationship with them. And so it's really nice to actually get that face-to-face with people, shake hands, go to the after parties and have a little fun. And when you hang out with somebody even for 5 minutes, you can tell a lot more about them than a year's worth of chats in the Telegram group. So thank you guys so much, Alex and David, for giving us the opportunity. We're a relatively small project, but we have big goals. Like we said, we spent the whole last year 100% developing. We're not even really marketing that much. Everything has been through partnerships, and we want to encourage developers to keep your money within your ecosystems. It's always better to invest in yourself than it is to pay somebody that's a big influencer for their reach. If you want overnight investors who are going to pump and dump you, go ahead and do that. But if you're looking for long-term investors, the best way to do it is to create your own content and show who you are and show how passionate you are about your project, and just be transparent. I think that's just our number one thing is grow organically and just always be available. So if you guys have any questions, we'd love to take some questions for the last few minutes.
Thanks. Hi, thank you. Great presentation. I was the one who asked the question about the dusting and on it. So some other person came over and said, "Oh, there she is." She said, "You got to talk to these guys," and I know you're up next. So this is very informative. I have two questions that are kind of related. So the first one's on the CyberNight NFT. Is it one per wallet, like C-phrase, or one per wallet, or is it one that covers all your wallets?
Well, so you can hold multiple in one wallet. Many of our investors have. Some guys have like 10 or 15 of them, just because there is a rarity associated with this collection as a PFP. So there's like the top 5 have the dev team faces on it, right? So there's people right now, we're in pre-sale right now. I want to say we're in pre-sale right now, and the utility is working, and we have it working on the back end. We're working on the scaling it for the whole 10,000 because it does require a customer service part of it. So if you buy the NFT in pre-sale, you qualify for Driven Vault and Driven Protect for life for free. But when they go live in Q4 of this year, those services will have a monthly service fee associated with them. So, but to your question, you will want to have one in each wallet that you want to protect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so the other question I had is on hot wallet, cold wallet, and then how does it work only on hot wallets? Is that really the purpose? Because I think the ledger in itself is creating a dual off.
Yeah,
factor, right?
So we partnered with Ledger and SafePal this year because we encourage everybody to use a ledger. You have to keep your crypto safe. Not your keys, not your crypto, right? And so get your stuff off the exchanges. I know the APYs and APRs are very enticing, but just pull up the news right now and you see this is where the teams are really important. You have to trust the people behind the teams. And I think if we look back in hindsight, some of these guys were already telling us that they weren't on up and up. But so the way that the CyberNights work is through it's IP right now, but I can tell you generally it's through a series of smart contracts. And so it does effectively turn your Trust wallet or your MetaMask into a hardware wallet just by holding it in there.
And how does it know it's you versus someone else?
Well, you will use our verification tab to make sure that you are making the transaction.
So if I want to move it to another wallet,
and the reason that they're really great is because in order for somebody to hack it, they would need access to 3 layers of authentication, not just your passphrase. So what we're planning to do in the end of Q3 is have like a little hackathon type thing where we have a significant amount of money in a wallet. We're going to give out the seed phrase and say, try and take it. And so that will really prove the utility of it. And we are in pre-sale right now, like I mentioned. We're not marketing it super heavy. We're just kind of giving the opportunity to our community to start. The first 2,000 are pre-sale, and then it will be out of pre-sale. And after pre-sale, they will go up to 100 Matic per NFT, which is still very affordable compared to when you talk about like a Ledger or a SafePal. You're looking at anywhere from like $70 to $150 depending on the model. And so that the reality is, like, for a lot of people in the world, we think so U.S. centric here, but in the world, $100 in some places is like a month's wage, but we don't want to deter those people from investing in crypto or keeping their crypto safe. So we wanted these to be an affordable alternative. And we were just excited to bring some utility to NFTs, because as a team, our whole thing is like, what's the use case, like when I think about creating content for a client, I go, what's the point of this? What do you want it to do, right? What's the reason? We don't just create content for the sake of creating content. It has to drive somebody somewhere. It has to be a tool to do something. There has to be a reason for it. And so that's the way I came into our team thinking about NFTs. Like, what are we going to do with this? The art is great. And I went to San Diego NFT convention, and that was very heavy with the art. And I love artists. I love the fact that they can make money off their art now using NFTs, improve ownership. But I think that the future of NFTs will be utility based. So that's where we really wanted to make sure that our utility was revolutionary and made sense with what we were building as a whole ecosystem.
And also, one of the main drivers behind it also too was, like you said, we're partnered with SafePal and Ledger, but we found that process was a little clunky, and so we wanted to make it a little bit smoother and a little bit more used to what people are doing currently in other Web 2 sorts of things. So we made it a process that turning Trust Wallet, MetaMask into a protected wallet versus having to offline it and all that stuff was also another selfish thing. We wanted to protect our assets, and we wanted something for ourselves to keep ourselves protected. And we're like, well, if we want it, that means everybody else probably wants it too. And so that's where it all came from. That was the main driver for sure.
And the reality is that most people are trading on their phones, right?
Yeah.
And so you're so much more vulnerable when you trade on your phone, whether you're scanning someone's QR code, or you're just walking around and people are phishing information off you. People are getting their password stolen and messaging on Instagram to click a link. There's just so many dangers. The phishing scams will get more and more sophisticated as we go forward. And the fact is that they're going to continue to do it because it works. And when people think about hackers, they think about like the Matrix, this hooded guy tapping away at the computer. But the reality is, these guys are just really good at getting you to give them the password to your stuff. And so,
or click a nefarious link.
Right, and so we wanted to really do all we could to stop that. And that's our time, guys. I really appreciate all of you sitting here and listening to us. We're at the booth, and we are giving away some CyberNights later today. All you have to do is follow our DrivenEcosystem Twitter and our CyberNights NFT Twitter. Come talk to us, and we have some stickers and some stuff over there. And we're looking for more partnerships with like-minded groups, projects. And so, thank you guys so much for the opportunity, and have fun the rest of the expo.